It has been very often compared the whole, shall we say, post 2016 and Brexit to being some sort of like revolution, and indeed there are lots of things parallels you can see to other revolutions that happened in the past, both political, violently, whatever revolution you want to take it for. It is pretty much granted now that Brexit was this type of revolution, and we've talked before about how revolutions can cannibalize not only like the original leaders, maybe the original purpose for the original revolution, for what it was meant to be, gets derailed, becomes something else entirely. Um, you know, people who were originally part of not the leadership of the revolution end up getting really annoyed with the direction the revolution's taking, and end up being annoyed that they did this and nothing happened, and obviously this will lead to future revolutions down the line. um, and we're going to go over a very interesting poll today that went over the opinions of people in England, focusing on them specifically, because I think this does get to a lot of nitty gritty about how and why a lot of people did vote the way they did at the 2016 referendum. And it does, again, pretty much feel like that they feel that the government is not investing in them, not spending the money on them. And I agree. If you are down south and you feel that way, maybe you should come to the north, speak to some proper northerners sometime. They will more than happily tell you about how bad the situation is here, about how no money has been spent here. Um, so, but the people who have been doing that for the past 10 years have been the Tories. They've been in power now. They've been pretty much responsible for that. No government invested more money than the last Labour government did. And yet the Conservatives will love to tell you that England is such a rich country, and we're topping like the GDP. We're sixth. We've got all this money in the country, but oh no, we can't spend it on services or investing in the country, anything like that. Anyway, but that's another topic. But anyway, let's go diving into this article then. But before we do that, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a rotation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. So let's jump into this. So this comes from the East Anglia Bylines. The title of "Revolution Without Love is Just a Coup d'etat. Why we have to learn to love England again." A few months ago, a major national poll was launched called Britain Speaks. Its most chilling finding was on investment. Investment not of money, but of caring, of being involved, feeling part of things. In other words, a love of our country. And only 43% of us said that we personally felt invested in our country. In other words, less than half cared as much what happens here. We are no longer in love with England. I sense this as a particular English problem. The Scots, the Irish, and the Welsh all seem to have an idea of what they love about their country, and perhaps the current plight of England helps them rediscover themselves. The English, however, seem unable to do this. The poll's responses to the complementary question were even more startling. Only 27%, scarcely a quarter of us, feel that our country invests in us. So 3/4 of the British public feel our country doesn't care about us or what happens to us. It seems we have lost our love with the place we used to hold dear. Perhaps Brexit brought our self-doubt to a head. But we've been in decline for long years, too suffused with English exceptionalism to realise what we, the English, are becoming estranged from one another, like a worn-out marriage, where what we have in common has also gradually dissipated. Compare this, of course, with France. When French farmers or fishermen demonstrate for their rights, the French themselves accept it with a shrug. These people are defending their rights. They have a revolution, and there's still all the old ways were thrown out. The French with their own country, and they are proud of it. And in France, if you find yourself in a forest somewhere and you ask who owns it, the answer will probably be the common or the people. Here, it will be a millionaire state owner. We are also deprived of our rights, so we are being deprived of our sense of belonging. Britain, or more accurately, England, doesn't seem worth fighting for anymore, which means those who deprive us of our rights can continue to do so with impunity. We've allowed our democracy to be whittled away bit by bit until a monster like Johnson can appear and steal just what remains from under our noses. Yet we have no idea what we can do about it because of the preening in the knowledge that England is the mother of democracies. We told ourselves nothing bad could happen here. Meanwhile, our country has become a harsher place, more brutal and less caring, and it has become difficult to love. So, what have we lost, as I've written elsewhere? As a nation, we have probably been in a unique position of having a national brand that could be defined as being recognized across the world. We apparently had honor, integrity, honesty, discretion. We had a certain definitive style in the way that we did things, and even as we wore it, everybody understood what an Englishman meant when he said something that simply wasn't done. We were proud of it, but we took it all for granted. For all our pomp, the English are a profoundly unserious nation. We allowed the snake oil salesman to claim our country as something else, a place to be feared because of a flag, poorer because we are more isolated. The more we waved the flag to hide what we were doing, to keep telling us how superior we are to the rest of the world, yet we ended up with the 9 of the poorest 10 regions in Northern Europe, among the lowest state pensions in the Western world, and of course the most polluted waterways in Europe. The referendum in 2016 showed up starkly what we already knew but hadn't cared to do anything about. For the first time, perhaps, many of us looked outwardly and compared. For the English, there came the beginning of a reckoning, and we will begin to realize what we've had. And part of that guilt will no longer be of loving of our country. It is the realization that we are responsible. We allowed it to be stolen from us. Whatever was true about the English and democracy, it is no longer. There are signs, of course, that we are beginning or will have to do something about it. First of all, is in order to cherish England, we have to claim back our country. We have to learn to love her again. A revolution without love is just a coup d'etat. And ironically, for the first time in years, something is stirring. The English are becoming angry. But anger alone cannot change what we have become. We might see a bright future if we can change for what will bring us joy. And the need to learn to love England again, the England want for ourselves before we can actually achieve it. So I do sort of agree here with what he's saying. This is pretty much again, any post-revolutionary thinking through the time. You can see it very heavily in the French Revolution. Lots of the lower middle classes throughout all the French Revolution were constantly keeping lots of diaries and all sorts of stuff going on at that time. Newspapers talking about how unsatisfied they were with like the revolution, disappointed at the beheading of the king because they wanted to maybe keep the king as a figurehead and have a parliament, or outraged at what Robespierre is doing. The Catholics in France were horrified at what had been done to Notre Dame, the big institutions, and but they were again still angry, but know that the church in France needed to be changed. And again, it's quite a very interesting period of history, well worth definitely looking into if you are interested in that type of thing. But it's shockingly what you were seeing here about, again, the English being angry, you are seeing now, because again, Brexit was promised to be the great changer in all this. And so far, Boris and the rest of the Brexiteers have changed nothing. Essentially, what this has been a top-down revolution where the people at the top went, oh, look, we're going to change. We're going to do things different. Look at all this change that's happening. In reality, all we've done is change Cameron for Boris, and we've had more austerity on the way with very little to no investment done to the areas that are absolutely crying out for it in the first place. So, and eventually this will lead to anger. There's no doubt that this won't. And this will come out definitely at the next general election, definitely. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page, and of course, the One Nation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, we'll see you all next time.